Since the message that I'm hoping to convey in this video actually began in Wilson, Kansas, that's where we'll begin this video as well. We actually found Wilson, Kansas totally by accident. We were looking for a place to refill our propane tanks, and in the process came across a town that billed itself as the Czech capital of Kansas. Being as Michelle's father is Czechoslovakian by birth, it of course piqued our interest, and we stopped to have a look around, and we were very glad that we did. One of the attractions of Wilson, Kansas was of course the world's largest Czech egg, and I have to admit that before this time I didn't even know anything about Czech eggs, so it was very educational for me as well. We were very impressed with the town itself. For a little town, it was very clean and very well kept, and we were very impressed. Our walking tour of Wilson, Kansas soon took us to the Wilson, Kansas Motel and Restaurant. We didn't get the opportunity to eat there because while we were visiting, the restaurant was closed, but we were able to admire the hotel and the restaurant from the outside. Very impressive building, and the yellow stone that they used to build it impressed Michelle and I both.
Ridding our lives of all we've gathered, trying to pretend it doesn't matter, but it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we're out on the road once again, stretching forth our hands, reaching for a friend, wondering if this trail will ever end, as we're looking for America again. Yes, we're looking for America again.
Written on the windows of the hotel were in Slovak different slogans and different phrases that may be used of a historical significance. And Michelle and I both were very pleased that they put the translation along with the wording in the Slovak language, so that we could understand just exactly what was going on. The information recorded on the store window let us know just what was going on, and that we had arrived in Wilson, Kansas just in time for the Czech festival. While we were there, the local polka band was warming up, and so we got a taste of what would happen later on that day. But unfortunately, we had things that we had to accomplish in a certain amount of time, and we weren't able to stay and see just exactly how a Czech festival went. Due to a discussion that Michelle got involved with at the Wilson, Kansas Czech Festival, our next stop was at Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at Czech Village. And as you'll see as the video continues, why we ended up at Cedar Rapids, Iowa was a very important reason. Again, we were very impressed with Cedar Rapids. As with Wilson, Kansas, Cedar Rapids was a very well kept and very clean city or town, as you can see. And we had lunch there at a restaurant called Lucky's, and it was very good. We were both very satisfied. And after we ate there, we continued our tour of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Throughout the town of Cedar Rapids, there were obvious evidence of Czech civilization there, and it was very interesting, to say the least, to see what would be left of the Czech residing there. Once again, we were touring the Czech Village area of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and while we were walking along, Michelle found a plaque that was found to be very humorous to both of us. There was also no way that Michelle was going to walk by all these shops without at least stopping and seeing what each shop had to offer. But it was enjoyable for both of us because Cedar Rapids, Iowa was a place that neither one of us had ever been. So even I didn't mind the stopping and shopping. It's not by accident that a Circle was a physical fitness practice that was started in Prague, and it was to all ages, and all ages were found to be very fit and working out and healthy, as all Czechs would be. The area surrounding Czech Village became known as the New Bohemia, since the Czech civilization were known as Bohemians. Bohemians were an unconventional type of lifestyle that was practiced in particular by the Czechoslovakians. They were into the arts and into the physical fitness and several practices such as that. And so they were seen as unconventional, and in practice bohemian in style. As you can see, the main reason that we wanted to stop in Cedar Rapids because because the National Museum for Czech and Slovak, where it was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is also one of the Smithsonian's, so it's a very worthwhile and a very trustworthy museum. So if you're ever in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, be sure to stop and take a look. The girl that Michelle met and got involved in a discussion with in Wilson, Kansas, worked at this particular museum and invited Michelle, sent her a personal invitation to come and visit in Cedar Rapids. So Michelle, of course, wanted to go, and so we made a stop in Cedar Rapids. After passing the entry desk and walking around the corner, the first thing that you see is the Czech or Slovak Hall of Fame and all the medals and awards that these people earned. But keep in mind, with the Prague program Sokol in vogue, they would be well tuned and well fit for all the Olympics and that everything else as well. The next stop for us in this museum was what they called the Immigrant House. And the Immigrant House, it was a house that was moved from one side of the river to the other so that it could be part of the museum. It housed, last as far as they know, a family of 4, and it was a 2-room house. The man that lived in the house last was a carpenter by trade and was able to make a number of improvements on the house and make it more suitable for a family of 4.
So this was sitting down there. The immigrant home was sitting right aside of it, right next to the river. So when the flood came, the water was right up just below this overhang here, that height. And so they figured the house was underwater for at least 48 hours before it subsided. Have you come on in? Was right over there on the other side of on First Street over there. So probably pretty much directly across from where it is right now. So see, we just have 2 rooms. You have your kitchen area here and in the parlor aside of it. A family of 4. In the front room here I have a picture of the mother, father, and son and daughter. The daughter was 4 years old, the son was 2, and they came from Bohemia, that section of Czechoslovakia, and most of them that resided here in the Iowa, the Cedar Rapids area were from Bohemia. So when they acquired this house, right here where we're standing by the doorway used to be a big open porch, and this used to be the outside wall. And so Joseph Slager, the Slager family, he was a carpenter by trade, so he tore off the porch and brought the wall out in line with the front room and added on 4 feet here. There's a root cellar where that doorway is, the root cellar down there for refrigeration for the fruits and vegetables, a little pantry here, and then the stairwell over there, which was never finished off. It was only a sleeping area for the children. So the children, and so just think of that. I mean, even you see the pitch of the roof here, whatever. you know, an adult couldn't stand up unless you're probably right in the center of that peak, but never finished off. In fact, there's some report that, you know, back in the day, they had the wooden shingles on the roof, and so the children, you know, in bed, and here's a little opening there, and it's like snow is filtering down on them. So and of course, here then, you know, you have your chimneys, so you have the stove here, the heat, and we've redone this room. Our front room now, when you come into it, is all original. But, you know, they would have had the vents that go up to help heat where the children slept. So you can come on into the parlor. Mentioned about the family coming from Bohemia. This is the only artifact we have of the family that occupied this for 5 generations. So there's the father, the mother, and then the daughter that was 4 and 2 years old. And so they came here to Cedar Rapids in 1889. The Czechs, a lot of them were coming ready in the 1860s and things like that. So their occupying this was a little later in time than, you know, a lot of the majority of them. And they basically, right across the river here, down in this section, that's where the Czechs all, you know, different immigrants of different nationalities, they had their own little community together, and that's where they located. And of course, they had their own school, which even today now, they still, in the summertime, they'll teach, you know, the Czech language. They have, anybody can, you know, go to that if you wish, or whatever. But, and then their churches, the Catholic Church. So everything in this room, you see, is original. All the wood, you know, and of course right there, the tile cover up there is, there would have been a little stove right there that would have helped heat this room, and the vents that directed up above. They were a family of middle class, so these pieces all represent the late 1800s, but this furniture right here would have been you know, a notch higher than what they would have had. They would have had more like that rocking chair, things like that. So, and the lanterns, of course, that was their source. And like I mentioned, they had no electricity from 1889 until 1981. So then electricity is added, but it would have been forbidden to even try to put plumbing in the home because, you know, just it couldn't have been done. So in 19, because his grandchildren occupied a daughter and husband just temporarily till they could get on their feet. They were the ones that added electricity to it at that time. So just think about, so the back door back there was, of course, the river, and so they had the pumps. At one time they had 2 pumps out there, and the outhouse all those years. So yeah. The rosette design around the windows and doors, that's very typical of the late 1800s. And then I mentioned the children upstairs, so then this closet probably had cots that fold up or whatever, so this would be brought out here, so this would be a bedroom too for the adults in here. So, and that being the entry door right there where the guests would come in. Any questions in this room?
What is this a picture of right here?
Being the first president of Czechoslovakia, and when you go through the galleries there, and some of you have been in the area, there's a statue, a bronze statue of him that now belongs to us and used to be over in the Czech Republic. And so at that time, when he was the first president, that's when our president Woodrow Wilson was in power at that time. So these are just pictures of, you know, some of the Prague and some of the other. And then here, yeah, this shows like Czechoslovakia, shows very distinctive, which you'll see in the main gallery too. The sections Bohemia, which I mentioned, that's where the majority that came here, they were from that section, Moravia and Slovakia. So. And also the laundry activity that went on. And that, you know, these are very, very well known back then, and of course this, the lye soap that they would have had, and like here to protect the wall then, you know, which would be, so this says, if you don't like the way my home's displayed, go home and make yours better. So she's got kind of a hand on her hip there, kind of a frown on her face a little bit, so yeah. So, and of course all the spices and the coffee grinders and just the many different things in here. And of course, you know, with the pump outside, you know, of course, this would have been probably the logical bucket that they would have had. And here, I mean, I can remember growing up in Northeast Iowa on a farm, you know, we had. I always have to say something to children. Do you think you could sleep in a home like this or live in a home like this, you know?
As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for part 2 of the Czech and Slovak Museum in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as we bring it your way in a very short time.